All right, so what we're going to learn about right now is copyright. So we're going to do copyright this week. It's a big deal, especially in the digital world where things are all over the internet. You take those things and you might not have the correct permissions or rights to take those things. It becomes a big mess. So we just got to learn about this subject before we start getting into all the other crazy stuff. And this week, the second week here with copyright, it's probably gonna be a shorter lesson just because we're still getting into the groove of things. So you'll follow along with me on this, and that's probably all we're gonna do this week, and also try to get more familiar with Canvas and everything. But let's go ahead and get into it real fast. So yeah, we're supposed to read this copyright story first. It's about a girl named Sarah who was dating this guy, and when she's dating this guy, she writes this poem for him. And long story short, she writes the poem, she gives it to him, they break up. Years later, she hears a song on the radio, and then she realizes that's the poem that she wrote her ex boyfriend. And she finds out that he published this song and is now making money from it. So she contacts him trying to get some type of payment for it. Now, she tells him uh, so she tells him this, and then he replies to her, and he tells her these three things. He says, "Well, you know what? I'm sorry. You don't have any claims to royalties. Royalties are like the money that she would get for this song." But he says, "You never registered the poem for copyright. You gave me the poem as a gift, so it belongs to me. And you wrote the poem more than 10 years ago, so any copyright would have expired. However, if you have any other songs, I'll do those for you in the future." Kind of messed up, right? Now, you're supposed to talk about this in the discussion area, and it says, "Do you think Brian is right?" Or, and what should Sarah do? So a lot of people, every time I do this in class, I know we're not in class, but a lot of people always say that Brian has a point. You know, she didn't do these things. She didn't register the poem for copyright, and she didn't do the. She gave it to him as a gift, so it's hers, and all this kind of stuff. So, but the truth is, he's actually wrong on all three of these. All right, you don't have to register a poem for copyright. Um, or you don't have to register the poem for copyright in order for it to still be yours. It's still yours. You're still protected. You Even if you give it to someone as a gift, it doesn't mean you were giving them the rights to it. You were just giving them like if I wrote a book and I said, "Here, this is a gift. Read it for Christmas." You're not saying I'm giving you the whole book. Go sell it, make lots of money. You're just saying you can read my book, have fun with it. Cool, right? And then the third one says you wrote the poem more than 10 years ago. He's actually way off on that. It's actually a lot more years than that, and even after the person dies. So we'll get into all this here in a little bit. But basically, I just wanted to go over that with you guys and let you know that it's not always as simple as people think it is, or cut and dry. There's more to it, and you're more protected than people think. So we'll go ahead and get into the actual PowerPoint real quick. Now, I'll try to go through this as fast as possible so that you guys aren't sitting here watching this forever, but we have to go through it. So, and I'm going to put this on a, a program that allows it to stop and ask questions along the way. So that'll count that as the grade. Um, so what is copyright? It's Title 17 of the U.S. Code, protection provided by law. It protects authors of original works. Okay. What it is not a patent, a short-term monopoly, and is not a trademark. So you can't really copyright. It's trademarks are something totally different, and patent, and which is like a short-term monopoly, is something totally different as well. Copyright is more of like a protection of original, unique things that you've created. All right, these two things are more for like inventing something that you want to like sell on your own, and that's a monopoly. You're the only one that sells it, and then trademarks are just identifying things. So that's not what that is. Also, another thing too that I wanted to say is when someone steals, plagiarizes, some people say, "Oh, he copyrighted that." That's not the actual word. Copyright is the name of what you give something as protection from getting plagiarized. So when someone's stealing something, you say they're plagiarizing it, not copywriting it. Okay. Um, what it's available to published and unpublished works, and then you have some like code stuff down there. But that's kind of what we're getting into with that Sarah story with her ex-boyfriend. She never published it, but it's still protected. Okay. Copyright gives exclusive rights and ability to authorize reproduction of work and copies of phono records. So what this basically means is when you own something, you can reproduce it. You know, if if I created Batman, I have the rights to make Batman movies, to make copies of that Batman comic that I made. I can make phonorecords or like digital like things that you hear digitally through like headphones and stuff like that. It's not an actual physical copy of it; it's a digital copy of it like that. Uh, Derivative works based upon the work. So like I can have Batman 2, Batman and Robin, The Dark Knight, stuff like that, all related to Batman. I can distribute copies of it publicly for sale. I can transfer the ownership. Like Disney bought Marvel. Disney bought Star Wars. They transferred the ownership from George Lucas to Disney. Rental, lease, lending. So like for instance, also with Spider-Man, Disney does not own Spider-Man. Sony does, but Sony leased out Spider-Man to Disney so they could use Disney in their or use Spider-Man in their Disney movies. So it's kind of works that way too. And performance of the work publicly, like plays or concerts and things like that. Display of work publicly, same makes sense, right? Performance of sound recordings and public digital audio transmission. So like there's phono records, like things like this. So you can see the cassette tape, CDs, LPs, 45 IEs, disc, other things, MP3s. So that's just different ways that it can be produced. That doesn't necessarily have to be always physical, but be digital, and you hear it through a digital platform and things like that. Okay, things it protects: literary works, dramatic works. Dramatics would be like uh, plays and movies, musical works, and artistic works. Actually, artistic works covers a lot of stuff too: movies, songs, computer software, architecture, things like that. What it does not protect, it does not protect an idea. You can't just have an idea of something and say, I want to copyright this. It has to be something that's come out and that can be seen or in some way or another, whether it's through a programming language or physically. You have to have some type of, you just can't have an idea of something. Facts obviously can't be protected under copyright. I can't copyright that is the color blue or something like that. Systems and methods of operation. What that basically means is like if something needs to be a certain way, like we need bridges to cross bodies of water, stuff like that, you can't necessarily copyright that because there's only one way to go over a body of water with a vehicle, right? Like a bridge, right? Unless you have a boat or something, but you know what I mean. Uh, when is it protected? The moment it's created in a fixed, tangible form, like the uh, J.K. Rowling, the lady that did Harry Potter. She wrote the book originally on paper, like paper napkins that she would get from a restaurant. So once you write it on a piece of toilet paper, and it is actually protected in copyright. Now you're gonna have trouble defending it if someone steals it and stuff like that. So it's always good to get it legitimately protected under copyright with like a lawyer or some type of other way. But technically, it's protected even if you haven't done all that, and is visible either directly or with the aid of a machine or a device. Like programming languages, they just look like programming, but when you put it in there, it creates a game or a website. So those things can still be protected as well. So registering for copyright, so registering for that protection, it's voluntary. Like I said, it's already protected, but if you register, it is good as a safe way so that if you go to court and some guy's like, no, I did this or I did this, well, I registered it, so I have it. If it could be easier to prove if you registered it first, right after you created it. But it does say it is created from the moment it is created, or it exists from the moment it's created. To file a lawsuit, though, if there is a lawsuit, you will have to register. So if there's some type of lawsuit going on or things like that, you need to go register it and then take it to court. Now the life. Remember that one guy told that one girl, Sarah, he said, 10 years. It's been 10 years. Well, actually, it's the life of the author. So she'd have to live her whole life and then an additional 70 years, meaning her kids will have rights to this. She passes it on to them and things like that, or whoever she decides to give it to. So the life of the author plus 70 years. So he was way off on that one. And then it says for corporations, it's 95 years from the first publication. And so that's become an issue lately because of like Mickey Mouse, right? Mickey Mouse is getting to that point where his 95 years is up, and Disney keeps pushing this back. They keep like lobbying and trying to get government officials to extend this. And because Mickey Mouse is their main guy, right? But once that 95 years is up, technically people can start selling Mickey Mouse stuff and not have to pay Disney anything for it. There's no protection for Disney anymore because their 95 years has been passed up. All right. Fair use. This is just saying things can be used legally, but it's, you got to still be careful. It's fair use. So it's not just like I can use this and I won't get in trouble for it. No, I mean there's things you can do specifically, like review a movie, right? I can go and write about a movie and review it, and that's okay. I'm not literally telling you the whole story of the movie or showing you the movie. I'm just giving you a review of the movie. As here in school, we have a lot of leeway with this as well. If it's in for educational purposes, things like that, it's fine. But the moment you try to publish it or make anything else more of it, that's when you can get in trouble. So you can use things fairly as long as, maybe you're just keeping it to yourself, or you are, you know, following their guidelines and using just the little amounts that you can, like quoting, putting a bibliography at the end of your essays. And you got to take that stuff serious because you can actually get in a lot of trouble for that. Exceptions are criticism. Yeah, so this is the exceptions, right? Criticism, comments, news, like the reviews of movies, like I was kind of saying, stuff like that. Public domain items, works. Quick little story, real quick, about when I was in college with plagiarism and how serious they take these things. I heard stories of students that would get expelled their senior years of college. I had one teacher tell me, like, you better not plagiarize or I will get you expelled. And this one student did it in his senior year. Professor found out. Professor called him in. He said, hey, I know you plagiarized this paper. I'm expelling you from the school, and you're not gonna be able to graduate. And the kid's like, no, I graduate next month. Like, please don't expel me. And then he's like, no, I'm sorry, you're getting expelled. Um, you plagiarized. And the guy's like, I have a job this summer already lined up, but I have to graduate. And he's like, no, you did have a job this summer. You don't have a job anymore. You're getting expelled. So like, it's scary stuff. Make sure you guys don't plagiarize. Always cite your sources. Um, use quotes, things like that, because this in the real world, in high school, you might get a slap on the wrist, but in as time goes on, I mean, maybe not even high school. I've heard of high school kids and stuff getting in a lot of trouble for this too. But as time goes on, it just gets more and more serious when you get in trouble for things like this. I had other kids that were in my senior class that happened in my class, and they plagiarized their whole final project, and one of the people in their group was not part of it, and she told on them because she didn't want to get in trouble, right? Like I just told you guys what can happen. And they had a green card from India, and they were crying to the professor, like, if you report us, we get sent back to India and we can never come back to the States again. Um, and I heard he didn't report them because of that. He just, that's kind of not fair to the guy that lost his summer job and all that. But that's the things that can happen. All right, let me drink my water real quick. All right. Let's see. Limit copies of a single use. This is things I was talking about. Like if you write your essays, just make sure you don't steal their whole thing if you're getting sources from something else, things like that. Okay. There's no specific words or lines that can be used safely without permission. Basically, that means, if you try to just take a little phrase from something that's popular, someone can try to say that you're stealing from them. Like there was that one show, Storage Wars. I don't know if you guys remember that show, but there was that guy on there that would like, when he would bid on a storage, he'd say, yep, yep. Like he would do that yep noise. Well, some rapper ended up saying yep in one of his rap songs, and that guy sued him saying that he stole his yep sound. Like, and it was dumb. Like it was really dumb, but that's what people can do. There's no amount that you can use legally. And even if you weren't even purposely using it for that, they can try to say you were. So it can become a mess. Just, it's crazy. So bottom line, just document all your stuff. Bibliography, footnotes, and if you publish copyrighted work, get written permission. All right. This is going to be the end of this video. There'll be another video you guys can watch for the next one, and that one will have stopping points, and you'll just answer them, and I'll take a grade on that. All right. That is it, guys.